Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City Council meeting this evening. We're going to call the meeting to order. First thing up is roll call. Terrell?
Mayor Gill?
Here.
Vice Mayor Dukes?
Here.
Councilmember Buckland?
Here.
Councilmember Mon?
Here.
Councilmember Starkey?
Here. If you'd please rise for the invocation given by Councilmember Buckland, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from our Eagle Scouts, Trevor and Brett.
If you bow your heads with me, please. Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all those that are gathered here today. Thank you for this day and the plentiful blessings you provide each of us. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. I pray for your guidance in this meeting tonight. Please give us an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those that live and work in Yuba City. It's in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
If I can ask Trevor and Brett to come up to the front here, please. Thank you. If you can lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we've got several presentations and proclamations. In fact, we got 4 of them today, which we're very excited to do. We've got 2 Eagle Scouts. We've got recognition for Brandon Oakley Life-Saving Award. And then we've got Terry Coop, who's retiring from the city. So I'm going to ask our Eagle Scouts, Trevor Martin, to come up first. I'll let you hold this. We'll can please turn all cell phones off. That'd be greatly appreciated. Was that you, Councilmember Starkey? No. Okay.
How's the other guy?
Okay. Sorry about that. That kind of happens here. This is a recognition to Trevor Hyde Martin successfully completed the requirements for Scouting's highest rank of Eagle Scout on July 2nd, 2014. Trevor spent 6 months, 120 volunteer hours sorting through thousands of books to establish a reading library. In the end, 600 books were donated to the Yuba Center Juvenile Hall on behalf of Boy Scouts of America Project Reread. Trevor's hope for other youths, especially those in struggling circumstances, is to experience the joy and reward of reading. Trevor, on behalf of the entire City Council, we congratulate you.
I'd just like to thank my parents and Scoutmaster and all the scouts that helped me collect books, go through books, and the numerous hours that were contributed, and to all the people that helped donate books and for just the support of the community. So thank you.
Great, thanks again. Oh, wait, I've got a gift here for you, Trevor. Congratulations, once again. A whole lot closer to me. Okay, if I could have Brett come up. Let you hold this certificate of recognition. Brett has successfully completed the requirements for Scouting's highest rank of Eagle Scout on September 18th, 2014. Brett led a team effort of assembling 100 tree swallowbirds houses, which were installed at the Oroville Wildlife Area in Butte County, as well as parts of the southern Yuba counties. For Brett, the project taught him a valuable lesson in leadership, responsibility, and project management. Brett, on behalf of the entire City Council, congratulations for your wonderful achievement.
So first, I'd like to thank anyone who helped mentor me on my path to achieving this high award. And a special thanks to any of the adults because they spent a lot of time on all the trips and a lot of dedication to helping us achieve Eagle. And also, thank you to all the scouts who have helped me too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, if I could have Police Officer Brandon Oakley coming up. How are you? Nice to see you again. It's my great honor today to be able to present you with the Yuba City's Police Life-Saving Medal. Police Officer Brandon Oakley. On August 8, 2014 at 2331, Officer Oakley was on patrol traveling on Queens Avenue when he noticed a large amount of smoke and flames coming out of a residence. Officer Oakley notifies dispatch to respond Yuba City Fire personnel to the scene. Several citizens had gathered outside the residence and began yelling at Officer Oakley that there was an elderly woman trapped inside engulfed in the residence. Officer Oakley pried the metal security door from the frame and kicked the front door in. Officer Oakley then made his way through the engulfed residence and located the elderly woman in her bedroom at the rear of the residence. Officer Oakley then safely retreated from the burning home, leading the 86-year-old woman to safety. Officer Brandon Oakley is to be commended for his quick action, selflessness, heroic efforts, which directly saved the life of this 86-year-old grandmother. His actions are in keeping with the highest standards of the police service and bring credit to him and the Yuba City Police Department. It is hereby ordered Police Officer Brandon Oakley be awarded the Yuba City Police Department's Life-Saving Medal for his actions on August 8, 2014.
Thank you very much. Before I just want to say something real quick. First off, I want to apologize to the city for the damage to the door. I filled out the proper paperwork for that. I just want to make that perfectly clear. But in all seriousness, I'm humbled. I'm honored to receive this award. You know, my teammates and I, we don't do this job for any kind of special recognition. We do it because it's just that. It's our job. And I know that any one of them would have done the exact same thing under the same circumstances. So I thank you for that. And I want to give a shout out to Officer Figueroa because he asked me to before I came up here. So thank you.
I think that should be like, what, $10 into the happy fine or something, Officer Figueroa? Okay, if I could ask Terry Coop to come up. I'm going to let you hold this up, this proclamation, while I read the high points of it. Congratulations to Community Development Technician 2 Terry Coop on her retirement from the Community Development Department. Terry began her career with Yuba City 29 years ago and has held many positions throughout her career with the city, including records clerk, assistant buyer, and community development technician. Terry successfully achieved her certification as a permit technician from the Internal Code Council in 2007 and has maintained an active status as a certified permit technician through continuing education. Terry has tirelessly dedicated her time, energy, and talent to the city's annual Hands Project, as well as volunteering at many city-sponsored events such as the Prune Festival, Christmas tree lighting ceremony. Her consistent work ethic, reliability, and dedication have earned her the respect of her community and fellow employees. Terry has been a valuable member of the Community Development Department. Now therefore let it be resolved that I, Cash Gill, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council and citizens we serve, do hereby congratulate Community Development Technician Terry Coop on the occasion of her retirement and wish her much success and happiness in her well-deserved retirement. On behalf of the entire council, congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words? That's all right.
I just want to say thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I can't believe how it's already here that I've been here this long, and I've really enjoyed. I'm really going to miss all the people. I have a few plans for my retirement, but I'll have to come in and say hi to everybody. But I really did have a great career here, and I will miss it. And thank you.
You guys aren't leaving, are you?
Back to work.
4 more hours, we'll all leave. Lock the doors.
Seats available now. Congratulations, Terry.
Yeah. See you, Terry.
Pretty little job, huh?
All the dedicated ones stay.
Just wait a few more minutes. Yeah. Darren, can you grab the doors, please? Thank you.
Oh, George is here today.
Okay. Perfect. We will move on to public communication. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on items listed on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on items not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select a representative to express the opinion of the group. Item number 5 is written requests. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will normally allotted 5 minutes to speak. Terrell, do we have any written requests?
No requests were received.
Okay. Item number 6 is appearance of interested citizens. Members of the public may address the City Council on items of interest that are within the city's jurisdiction. Individuals addressing general comments are encouraged to limit their statements to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody from our community here who wishes to address the council on items that are not on the agenda? Okay, perfect. We will go to item number 7, ordinances, general plan amendment for 346 Walton Avenue, applicant Parmjeet Baines, property owner Stellar Scripts Inc. Mr. Bush.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a general plan amendment and rezone request for the property located at 346 Walton Avenue. This is the subject property here, as you can see, at the just roughly a block north of the intersection of Franklin Avenue and Walton Avenue. The property to the immediate south here, and I don't know if you can see this, but this area right here was rezoned back in October of 2007 from residential to commercial for the development of the now existing retail business that's located on the site, the pharmacy as well as the drive-through coffee store. That was approved by the Planning Commission. Thank you. That was approved by the Planning Commission in 2012. So shortly after that property was successful with development, the applicant or the owner of that property is now looking to expand his business that's located here up into this area here. And hence, we need the general plan amendment and rezone. As you can see on this very colorful map, on the left side over here, we have the existing general plan designations, and on the right side of the blue line over here, we have the proposed. Currently, the subject site is located here, and as you can see, it's medium, low-density residential. What they're proposing in order to expand their commercial development is to change that to match the community commercial that is currently existing for the pharmacy. We believe that that proposal is consistent with the surrounding properties to the south and to the east, and therefore we're supportive of the general plan amendment. Likewise with the zoning, again, existing zoning here on the left-hand side of the blue line, proposed zoning over here. This is the subject property, is currently zoned R2. The site down here, where the existing pharmacy is C2. So once again, they're proposing to be consistent to change that property from R2 to C2, which again, for the expansion of their proposed business. This is just a conceptual site plan of what we might see in the future. Again, here's the existing pharmacy building located here. This was shown as part of the pharmacy building when it was approved back in 2012, speculative office space. So what we're looking at now in the future here is some retail and more combination retail office space back here, designed to match what we have here on the corner, which is a very attractive building. So, but this is something that we'll probably see at staff level because of the size of the buildings there. But we do believe that the proposal is a good fit for the area, and therefore we're supporting the proposed general plan amendment and rezone. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council members?
To the mayor.
Yes.
Aaron, could you go back to your colorful slide with the, there we go. At the, I guess it would be the southeast corners, it's neighborhood commercial. What's the difference between that and community commercial?
Neighborhood commercial is more small scale. It's, you know, typically what you would call mom and pop, whereas community commercial is a little bit wider spreading. And this was probably due because of the smaller size here, and so you weren't expecting to get a larger center. And so that's really the difference. This expands the permitted uses to say something like you have across the street with a gas station, drive-throughs. Those type of uses typically aren't found in the neighborhood commercials.
But they're both zoned C2, so it's the same, but it's a different designation on the general plan.
Yes, it's a good catch. And for whatever reason, when the general plan was done, actually, it's C1 over here.
Oh, it's C1. Oh, it's there. Okay. All right. Thank you.
To the mayor.
Yes.
I assume this was completely vetted by the planning commission, and are any questions come up to them?
Thank you for bringing that up and reminding me. It was presented to the planning commission at their October 22nd planning commission meeting. There were a couple of comments about the likelihood of traffic conflicts coming out of here. Right now, the site is currently accessed at this point here onto Walton. There were some concerns expressed about another driveway location onto Walton, but as we discussed and shared from our Public Works Department, that there are no issues at this time that we're aware of, and that because of the stacking distance and so forth out here, we do not really foresee this as being a problem in the future, but that will be completely analyzed again when we get the development project.
Great. Well, I'm appreciative of the efforts of the planning commission to see this through, and therefore I'd make the recommendations A2F.
Well,
Unless
we
there's
got a public hearing. But thank you. Yes.
it doesn't say public hearing.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Aaron,
I will take that back then.
Better.
Aaron, I just have two questions for you. Obviously, you've got the pharmacy corner, and then you've got the new proposed. I guess this would cause traffic be able to move through there with both parties signing agreements for traffic to move from one parcel to the other.
Yes, that will be a requirement for reciprocal parking and access.
Okay, and then also be able to get easement along from the new parcel to the new one, where they'll be able to widen that whole lane out, the turn lane.
Yes, whatever improvements, if any, would be required will be included as conditions of approval. Of the
So it'll go
project.
back to the new duplex basically, because the new duplex was built without any kind of frontage, right? Just right there.
Yes, it won't go any further than that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, I'm going to go ahead and open this period up for a public comment. Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing that there's no mad rush to the podium, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And
Through the mayor,
Yes.
can I throw it back out?
You sure can.
Okay.
I'll second
I'd
that.
move the recommendation.
So we've got a motion and we have a second here to conduct the public hearing and bring it back. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Motion carries. Item number 8, ordinance prohibiting camping on private property within city limits of Yuba City. Mr. Darren Gale.
Second reading.
Yes, this is the second reading.
Good evening, Mayor Gill and council members. I'm here before you for the second reading of an ordinance, amending our ordinance to prohibit camping on private property without written consent. 2 weeks ago, you held a public hearing We had no comments since that time. I did receive a phone call, and I believe that you have a speaker card from that person that has a couple questions. At that time, I can answer those questions. If you'd like, I can give additional background. But in short, the change to the ordinance is to prohibit camping on private property without written consent. The main reason for this is really to help protect private property rights. We have property owners throughout the city where illegal camping is occurring on their property. The only way for our law enforcement officers to enforce that is to make contact with those property owners, usually late in the evening, and ask if they have permission, and then they can go and after trespassing charges. This way, it puts us in a better position to deal with the vagrancy issues around our city and to be able to enforce no camping on private property. So this time, I know that's you have at least one public comment.
Yeah. Any comments from council members? Okay. If not, I've got a speaker's card for Ms. Elaine Miles to speak on this item.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
You have early meetings. First off,
Elaine, if I could just have you state your name and address for the record, please.
I thought the card took care of that. Elaine Miles, 1351 Jamie Drive, Yuba City.
Thank you.
First off, your agenda says waive the second reading, and Darren just said that this is the second reading. I'm a little confused about that now, so perhaps you can clarify that. I'm very concerned about the homelessness in this community, and there's a huge population. But I'm also concerned about the vagrancy. And when I read about this particular ordinance being proposed, I did a little research. I'm also very concerned about private property rights. This ordinance gives the police a right to go and rouse someone from my property. Now, what if I were out of town and my son came home unexpectedly? Stayed on the property. As I understand it, you're going to charge a $25 fee to get the citation set aside. And yet I had the right. I don't think that's fair to the property owner. But when I checked around, Live Oak had the same kind of issue. They went to the property owners and they asked them, do you want this to happen here? And they said no. They wrote letters authorizing the Live Oak officials to arrest anyone on the property. They bought into it. And I really want you to look at that a little deeper. It's because it is a private property issue. And while you're looking at it a little bit deeper, I hear a lot of comments about how to stop them from trashing our neighborhoods and so forth. But I don't hear a lot of comments about what we're doing about eliminating homelessness. And this community is very poor at this point. So thank you for listening, and please consider.
Thank you. Mr. Gale.
So maybe I'll let the police chief comment, and then I can answer whatever questions you might have left.
I'm not sure exactly what I'm commenting on, other than the fact that, Elaine, if I'm correct, you're saying that Live Oak has letters on file from all the. We started to do that, but there's way too many private property. There's businesses that are outside the railroad. There's businesses that don't own within the city of Yuba City, and it's too hard for us to keep doing that. So we've put the onus on them to provide the vagrants or whoever happens to be sleeping on that, camping on the private property, to provide it to the officers at night. For instance, for us, it's not just a nighttime incident. There's a place just north of or just south of the 7-Eleven on Market Street that we don't always know who the owners of the property are, so we don't know who to contact, and that stuff's not readily available at night. So this puts the onus back on them if they're camping there, which they do often say that I have permission from the owner, and then the officers can't cite them basically because they don't know if they have permission or not. We don't have the time, the ability to research that until much after the fact, and in the meantime, we continue to get complaints about some guy that's out there in a recliner drinking beer because he's on private property out there for a couple of days at a time. So that was one of the reasons that we're not able to keep a file of everybody that a business. We're much larger than that, and it's not. We don't have that ability.
Thank you. Comments?
I think one of our concerns also was the $25 administration fee. Is that something that we need to to have, especially if somebody has permission to be, and it's proved that they had permission after the fact, that we charge that fee? Is that something that we have to do?
That the fines and fees are all set by the courts. It's if the court has to. It's the same with if you get a fix-it ticket and the fix-it ticket gets waived. It doesn't come back to the city or the police department. It goes to the court system. So it's not our ability to not charge that. If it has to go through the process, then there's a filing fee and there's a processing fee.
All right, thank you.
And I think, Lane, our goal here is not to infringe on property rights. And I think, you brought it like 3 different cases here because we're dealing with the homeless population on one hand. On the other hand, we're dealing on trespassing. And then I think from this council, I think working with so many of the church groups, the homeless consortium, I mean, there's programs and avenues that you're trying to do. But I know for a fact that I can count on a hand where people have camped out, and just like the chief said, it may be property rights for private property, but the owner has not given permission. I was at Walgreens the other night, really late, just went on this side, and there were 3 or 4 people camped out right by the corner of the door. And you're seeing more and more of that. And at the same time, there's a place that they can go for shelter, but definitely not be sitting around in somebody else's property on businesses. So that's kind of where this whole thing started from. And even within the river bottoms itself, some of that is on private property, but you can't go out. Railroad tracks are private properties as well. And I think if we wanted to address this issue, this is kind of a start, and then we can go from there.
Good, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
I too am concerned about private property issues, but I'm also concerned about the sanitation issues that come in play with camping without having any type of facilities available when these individuals are out living kind of on their own for their lifestyle. If you want to have an awakening, I would recommend a walk down the old railroad right-of-way, which is private property held by Union Pacific Railroad out of Omaha, getting them to respond. Omaha will respond typically within a week to 2 weeks. I think that that's one of our issues that comes up. And currently there are probably 5 recent camps along that right-of-way just from Highway 99 to Clark Avenue in Yuba City. How do you move those individuals on without an ordinance? It's very hard to do. They pitch their tent up in the trees. And again, there are no restrooms available. I know this because I clean it up on a weekly basis back behind a property that I'm involved in right now. And it's a mess. And we have to do something. The first step is to have good common sense. Anytime we have an ordinance, I trust that our enforcement, having come from that part, has the good common sense to realize. And I think, Elaine, this may answer it. Your son shows up at your house. They ask the questions. They find out he hasn't thrown up a tent in your front yard. And doesn't look like he's been there a week and thrown all of his dirty clothes out onto the right of way. I'm sure that that's a non-issue for the police department. It's a tool that they can use to keep our community safe. The 18 current programs that we have in Yuba City don't address comprehensively the homeless issue, but I know that we will continue to work on that, and we will have something in the near future that will provide more of an opportunity. The REST program starts this week for families that are homeless, giving them shelter to stay. So, I mean, there's a ton of programs, and the need to camp, certainly on private property and infringe on others' rights with your need to have your own lifestyle, I think needs to be curtailed within our city.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I think Councilmember Buckland brought up the fact of public safety. An example is, a couple of examples, but one is a donut shop over off of Highway 20, where there on a regular basis vagrants who are sleeping in the doorways of businesses along there, And the proprietor of that business, she comes to work at 3 o'clock in the morning and has a number of times been scared half to death because of people that are sleeping in those doorways. And we need to have the tools to be able to prohibit that. This isn't about property rights so much as, like you mentioned, having someone to come and stay on your own property. That isn't our intention here, is to deal with the vagrants and the public safety issues. Another area is down on Plymouth Street by the water tower, where people are camping out overnight there, and again, as you mentioned, the health issues of not having the facilities to be able to deal with those issues. They just take it out on the businesses there, and the businesses are responsible for cleaning that up. So this is a tool, as he said, to help us to address some of these issues that are serious issues in our community. And the public safety is the one issue that I support this issue on.
Yes.
Through the mayor, this is something every community struggled, and we've struggled for generations, centuries, and Elaine brings some great points. But like Councilman Buckland said, it's one tool, and hopefully our people, staff uses it where it's necessary. There are, the churches are trying to feed the homeless, trying to take care of them. I don't think we're gonna solve it in one day. Like I said, this goes back hundreds of years, and it's gonna continue to go have that problem. We're gonna deal with the symptoms, and I don't think we're gonna change anybody's life too much, but hopefully take care of to a smaller scale some of the inconveniences that I think this is probably more caused by the development in the river bottoms. I think we shifted more people out of the river bottoms with the development of the park and the feeding on at the south end of Plymouth Street. Every time we try to do something to help, something else happens because of that, and then we have to deal with it. And hopefully this takes care of the current symptoms, but I don't expect to resolve this problem. That's a lot wiser men have tried to solve this problem, and I think the problem will continue. And let's just trust our department and cause or reduce some of the problems we're having with some of the businesses, like we said, the donut shop or other businesses that are just trying to do their business and deal with the health and safety issues at the same time. So I would support this ordinance.
Great. Is that a motion?
I'll make that as a motion.
Okay, got a motion?
And I'll second that, since I can't possibly add anything to the eloquent comments the rest of the council has made already. Thank you.
Since we got a second, you're more than welcome to know.
Oh, no, that's okay. I got nothing more.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is consent calendar. All matters listed in the consent calendar considered to be routine can be acted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time that the council votes on the motion unless members of city council, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Anyone from the council wishes to pull any items? Okay. Anyone from the public?
Okay. Move for approval.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
My vote will not include item number 9, since I wasn't here for the minutes for the last meeting.
So shall we do 9, 10, or should we do 10, 11, and 12? And then
Either that or we vote on them all and just
abstain from 9?
I
Perfect.
abstain from
Okay, we'll do that. All right. So we got a motion.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. General items, item number 13, organizational changes and compensation adjustment with Public Works, Finance, and Human Resources Department. Natalie.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight I am discussing the organizational changes within Public Works, the Finance, and the Human Resources departments. First thing, I just thought I'd explain a little bit of what a flexibly staffed position is. There's a couple recommendations in part of this staff report that talk about flexibly staffed positions. So I thought I'd just kind of do a quick overview, if you will, on this to make sure I sort of follow this theme throughout my presentation. So I just thought I'd just spend a few seconds on this. So basically what happens is if you have two separate classifications, you can see on the left-hand, well, yeah, that other side over there. The level 1 is the entry-level position and the level 2 is the journey level. And what happens when you have separate classification, it requires a recruitment for each classification, and they're not necessarily linked. When you have a flexibly staffed classification, it allows for opportunity for growth within the position and development. And so if there's a natural development in the entry level to the journey level, the employee can transition as the job description allows. The first part of this staff report is for the Public Works Department. It's in the Facilities Division. The recommendation is to do a classification consolidation while meeting operational demands. So basically, that first example, we just talked about the flexibly staffed positions. We'd be taking the custodian 1 and flexibly staffing it with the custodian 2 position, which we'd be retitling the custodian lead to the custodian 2 position and flexibly staffing it. So as you can see in this example, that it would actually be consolidating the classifications. And the next, one of the other recommendations as part of this is taking the custodial supervisor and the facility manager and merging them into the facility maintenance supervisor position. It would have the salary schedule of the current facility manager now as it stands. And this is a comparable study that we have looked at, comparable salary. The other item that's going on in Public Works is for the wastewater division. The recommendation is to approve a 10% salary increase for the wastewater operations operator series. The reason why this is so critical is we have 3 vacancies in this series. Additionally, in May of 2014, I completed an analysis of recruitments since 2008. And the wastewater operator series was identified as an area that we had concerns about in terms of recruiting qualified candidates in the future. And additionally, on top of that, we now have 3 vacancies. At the time of my analysis, when I had identified this was an area of concern, we had 1 vacancy. We have now 2 additional vacancies. So obviously this is a concern for us. We feel that with the 10% salary increase, this would be necessary to recruit and retain the necessary operators we need to fulfill the plant's operational needs. The switching over to a completely different department, now we're talking about the finance department. The recommendation here is to approve a flexibly staffed informational services tech 1-2 classification. Just going back to that first flexibly staffed example that I used, you can see that the current classifications are 2 separate classifications. However, it has been determined that, that it would be better serve the city that if it was a flexibly staffed position. This would allow for more professional growth opportunities and also be more consistent with city standards. City standards are to use the flexibly staffed series. We have them throughout the city. Lastly, the Human Resources Department, where I come from, we have a recommendation to approve 1 limited term Human Resources Tech 1-2 just for the remainder of the fiscal year. We have 36 currently, which is always changing. We have 36 vacancies citywide. This is the largest number of vacancies since 2008, and I would even probably go back beyond 2008. We just didn't do the research to go back that far, but I've been in human resources long enough to know that we didn't have 36 vacancies in 2008. And this position would be primarily to assist and help manage these recruitments so we can continue to serve our departments and provide service to the public. The fiscal impact is as such, there's general fund impact as well as wastewater fund impact. And finally, I just went through all these in detail. I won't read this to you. I know it's in the staff report and in the agenda as well. However, if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to take them.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
If you could go back to, I guess, your first slide where you're talking about the difference on the Tech 1 and 2. My question on that is,
This one?
yes, has the labor representation, are they okay with these changes?
Yes, I've spoke with them on the phone several times, and they are concerned, and this is one area we do work with the bargaining union on, is the job description. So I did speak with the representative today about the custodian 1-2. We didn't anticipate any problems. We are finalizing the other local 1 position, which is the information tech 1-2 job description, but I don't anticipate any problems. And we work well with the bargaining unit, so I don't anticipate any long-term issues.
And then the next one is the wastewater. On this one here, could you explain the reasoning why we're looking at 10%, where we're at, and with median to other communities and that type of thing?
Yes, so we had an outside consultant do an analysis of comparable agencies to the city's wastewater treatment facility. We have a unique facility. Diana staff worked in identifying agencies that were comparable to the cities, and we looked at what the base rate and the compensation of those operators. It's sorry to say we were out of range, so that it was identified that we needed to be able to increase the compensation to be able to recruit qualified candidates to be able to fill 3 vacancies. I did look back at my notes from the last recruitment that we did for the wastewater operator series when we had 1 vacancy and we had only 4 qualified candidates apply. So obviously that's a concern. Normally, when we have a recruitment open, sometimes we'll have 75 to 100 candidates what I call qualified candidates apply for 1 position.
Thank you.
Okay. Through the mayor. Yes. Natalie, in 2008, approximately how many employees did the city have at that time?
I would say probably around 303, 310 in there.
And currently are full-time positions without the current vacancies?
I would say 260.
And so we're running substantially low. And one of the areas impacted obviously is our wastewater plant, which I think is one of those critical pieces that we have for the city, because when we don't operate that properly, we face fines for discharge and things like that. So these people are qualified through their job training,
yes,
certifications.
Mm-hmm. Yes, through certifications, and it's actually, and Diana could answer more to this, but it's a pretty rigorous process. We have to have a grade 3 operate the plant on their own, and it is a 24-hour coverage, and so we have to have at least a grade 3 operating the plant at all times. And what we have found in the past is that it is sometimes difficult. It's a difficult exam to get there, and it not only requires taking tests, it also requires hours on the job. And hours on the job is quite extensive. It's not just, serve 20 hours and get there. We're talking thousands of hours. So it's quite extensive.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The mayor?
Yes.
Additional question on that, Natalie. So is it fair to say that recruits that we're looking at for these positions are people that would have to be employed at some other agency, and so we would have to have the ability to be a better opportunity for them to want to move from there to here? So it's a limited number of people that we can recruit from. It's not like you just hire somebody out of a technical school and that they can fill these positions.
Yes, that's correct.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Is 10% enough?
Yes, we believe it is.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify that, I guess I'd agree with Natalie that we believe it is. The proof's going to be in the pudding. So I'm just going to tell you, do not be surprised if months from now, if we need to come back to you, we will come back to you. If in fact we're unable to recruit at that adjusted level.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, I've got Elaine Miles who wishes to speak on this item.
Elaine Miles, 1351 Jamie Drive. Some of the questions have been answered, but in reading your agenda item, I believe you gentlemen have probably identified some of the concerns a taxpaying citizen would have, but I will reiterate some of them for your record. As you're well aware, the residents cover the costs for the water and sewer employees, so that is first on my list. It's just been disclosed that a report was done. The report states that a study was done about wastewater treatment employee wages, and the department is short 3 employees. Nowhere in your agenda for the public to know was it disclosed the results of the study or the basis of the study. Of deeper concern, it was mentioned that 4 people applied for 1 opening, but you expected 70-something. A lot of people want government jobs. Just because you only got 4 for 1 job and they were all 4 qualified, you probably got more. Does that mean that we shouldn't have at least tried to recruit in the meantime? But instead, we're raising a salary ahead of time without even trying to fill that position yet. I'm a little concerned about that. When we look at the custodian maintenance classification, I have some very deep concern. The reclassification of the supervisor position results in the top range being $2,700 a month additional. That's a hefty raise. This is for someone who potentially supervises 4 employees, none of whom are set up for a raise in this report. So it can't be lack of payment or lack of salary that demands this. If there's something weird about this. Additionally, this salary puts the newly created supervisor position at $4,590 a month beginning salary, which is $1,790 a month more than the starting salary of the prior position, of the custodian too. So you have a supervisor making 164% of the people he's employing salary. I don't understand that. It's definitely not a norm in salary scales. Again, I trust you to take a good deep look at this. Some information was disclosed about technology, but as a citizen out here, combining those for it's a 1-2 in range. Are we going to 9 steps then? Are we going to 12? What? Give us an idea. And is it in your personnel manuals? This doesn't look very clear to me for you guys to be making some very deep, consequential decisions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane. Would you like to comment?
That's all right, Mayor. I just want to get clarification on the facilities maintenance supervisor from Natalie. Currently, Natalie, do we employ anyone at this position?
No.
And when we're talking about a facilities maintenance supervisor, I know in the past we had this position,
That's
and that position is more than a person that simply pushes a broom. They are actually overseeing all of the repairs through the facilities. If they're scheduling with contractors that may be coming in and doing the work to clear up issues of broken facilities, roofs that are leaking,
maintenance,
ongoing for preventative purposes.
Yes, they're going to administer a number of contracts for the city and the city's buildings that extend beyond City Hall. We're talking the police department, wastewater operations down at both of their plants. So they're going to be overseeing beyond the custodial services. That is just one small part of it. We also looked at the compensation study for this facility manager. That is the current title of it, and it is comparable. It is within range of other agencies for that position. So,
I just want to go into a little bit more of the flexibility issue with classification 1 and 2. In a job description, if an individual had a job description and they were at a level 1, and we asked them to come and do the function in a 2's position, are they working outside of their current classification?
yes.
And what's the consequences to that?
That can require and back wages, any sort of lawsuit type of situation that we would have to pay back wages, and not only causing the attorney law side of things, but just causing disharmonious, I guess I said that right, relationships within the workplace, us taking advantage of an employee and working them out of class.
Do employees that are asked to work out of class, do they ever put their back up and say, that's working out of class, that's not my job to do?
Well, I of course, I would never want an employee to work out of class. However, I know that since we have, gotten leaner, I know our employees have done amazing things here. And I almost get emotional talking about it because they do amazing things for the public and they go beyond anything we could ever ask for them. They usually do it without asking, I should say.
And I thank you for that, because I think that my first questions had to do with what our staffing levels were. This city has done a tremendous, the staff of this city has done a tremendous job of fulfilling the needs of our community at the entire, from 2008 on, when we have gone through reductions and we move and everybody operates in a very fluid manner to be able to get the job done. And so I'm pleased with what your answer is, that people step up.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Absolutely.
But we also need to take care and make sure that we're not running into issues of employment issues with agreements, negotiations, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So does this satisfy those issues?
Yes, I feel like we're being very conservative with this.
Thank you.
And I just want to bring up a point, and I think our city manager mentioned that as well, that we are bringing it up to 10%. And I think the comment was, well, it's up to where we need to be. But based upon that survey that was done, we're still 5% under what our surrounding areas are for this particular position.
Mm-hmm. That's right, and that does not include the furlough program.
Right. So we may be 10, but we're still under. And then the other thing on this particular slide that you have going from level 1 to level 2, right now, if somebody's put in the time for level 1, you can't just automatically promote them to level 2. You have to have a total recruitment process. You have to open the position up, so you have to interview. You have to go through the whole process of doing that.
Right, absolutely.
So there's time and money that takes that up as well.
And it also can be discouraging for employees when they've been, serving in the role of the journey level to have to go through that process. That's why we feel that, and we apply the flexibly staffed positions throughout many classifications within the city. The Public Works Maintenance Worker Series is a good example. The customer service reps up front who help the citizens all day long, they are all in flexibly staffed positions, which as they gain experience and knowledge in their job role, they're able to progress with their managers or supervisors' approval to the next level, which allows them, to keep here with their city, keep the knowledge base here with the city, and to grow into a new role.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Through the mayor. Bottom line is, this helps us as an organization to run more efficiently without having to go out and advertise, and it allows us to recruit or to move people within the organization to new levels without having to go out and look for new people. So it helps morale with the current workforce also.
Right.
Steve, you had a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify on the facilities maintenance supervisor position, Natalie's accurately reflecting it there. It's a change out in the position. These are not equivalent positions, however. Okay, I need to be distinct in that. The custodial supervisor played a role in this organization. He oversaw the custodians. He was our super custodian, a remarkable man, did a great job. My expectation is that facilities maintenance supervisor will either come with a contractor's license or have that ability to get a contractor's license. Now, I hire contractors to do work at my home, and I think the wage is somewhere on the higher end, $32 an hour, which I think is a well-paying job. Don't get me wrong. But I know the contractors that come to my house at least charge me more than that to do the services in my home. So in order for us to attract a person, and Natalie mentioned that she went out and did the analysis of comparable positions, and it's in the adequate range. For this position, we feel that it's an appropriate level of pay. I would agree with Ms. Miles. If you were to take that position, compare it directly to the old one, it is disparate in pay. But I'm saying that it is also disparate in what the expectation of the role of that person plays. So, thank you.
Yep. Other questions? Okay. Now, what's the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval of the item.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very, very much. Item number 14, annual report from Downtown Yuba City Business Improvement District, proposed levy, and an annual assessment for 2015.
Good evening again. It's a pleasure once again this year to be before you to talk about our great Downtown Business Association that we have. Leanne Simino the president of the DBA, is here, and she's going to give a presentation. Before she talks, I did want to recognize a couple of the board members. We have David Holycross from Holy Cross Memorial in the back row. He's also one of the new members of the board. We have, Donna Hannaford from Hannaford Consulting, which is the DBA coordinator. We have Allison Robinson representing the Theater Gallery, I believe. Angela Butler with Milani Optical. And I just wanted to just say a couple things about our DBA. One, there's a lot of new members on the board of directors this year. There's George Barlow with the Crave, which they just celebrated their first year anniversary. David Holycross is new. Glenn from Sutter Buttes Brewery is a new member. Cindy Payne is a returning new member to the board. And then also Kenneth Wood, a newer business to Pluma Street, but an existing business with a New Wave Hearing Aid Center has joined the Downtown Business Association. Tonight's meeting related to the DBA is to approve the annual report that the DBA has filed, adopt a resolution which is an intention to levy and collect the 2015 annual assessment, and to set a public hearing for our next council meeting, or I shouldn't say the next, but for the December 16th council meeting. Our DBA is strong. They have annual dues of about $25,000, if I remember correctly, and they have a significant amount of associate member dues, which I think shows their strength in the community. That you have businesses outside of their boundaries that participate. They play a key community role in both our putting together and presenting both the Christmas stroll and the summer stroll. And so at this time, I'll turn it over to Leanne to give a brief annual report.
You kind of gave the whole thing away.
Is that the whole report, Darren, or what?
I have nothing left to say. Darren touched on all of it. Mayor Gill, council members, thanks for having us tonight. The city has always been very kind and very supportive of the Downtown Business Association, and we wish to keep that relationship with you guys. So I want to thank you for that. Darren has been fabulous, enthusiastic, and has helped me quite a bit in my role as the president. Our mission is not necessarily an easy mission. The mission states, the mission of the Yuba City Downtown Business Association is to preserve, promote, encourage aspiring businesses, and to provide a safe, clean center for culture and community life for our residents and visitors alike. That's a big task, and it takes money to get that done. So we want to continue to have you approve the assessment for the 2015 year. We have not changed the assessment in 10 years, I believe. Darren already touched on all the great things we've done this year, so I won't go back into that, and plus it's all in the annual report. I am thrilled with our board. We do have a bunch of new members, so it's nice. We have some new enthusiastic people that are ready to get in and help. We hung up decorations in the downtown last week. People are jumping and helping, so it's really nice to have some new, fresh board members. Last year, I reported that we just had a few goals, and I'm really proud to announce we accomplished, made really good headway. We wanted to improve our communication with the constituents, and we did just that. We have walkabouts. We have more of our members that are paying the dues, which is great. We wanted to have successful events. We've done that. We've had the Christmas stroll, the summer stroll. We helped with hosting the California Chrome celebration. Thanks to the city, that was a lot of fun. And we also increased our marketing by use of social media. Donna Hannaford's done a great job with getting in with our businesses, taking videos of them, and adding those to Facebook and other YouTube and that type of social media, and redoing our website. Our goals for this next year are to be known as the place to be Thursday night. We want to continue our farmers market Thursday nights. We want to continue the Twilight Thursdays. We want to make that part every Thursday. So we want to have music downtown. We want to continue to be able to entertain the citizens of Yuba City while still promoting our members. So I again look forward to having you guys approve the assessment and continue to have your support.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Leanne?
Any questions?
Downtown is doing fabulously with the remodel that the redevelopment did over the years, and now with all the things you guys are doing, it feels like a great place just to be. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's an absolute beautiful open air shopping district, and it's nice that we can host a lot of community events down there. Thank you.
I like the idea of Thursday nights.
Yeah,
Very.
I do too.
I think that's a great thing.
That's going to be one of our biggest pushes for this year.
I'll be down there every Thursday night. How's that?
Councilmember Buckland.
And I echo that. When I moved here as a kid, I came from Napa, and we had Thursday nights in Napa that were just, you always look forward to Thursday nights. That's catching on here, and it's a lot of fun to be down there. I know that's the place that we try to get to, and so I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, what the DBA is doing to promote not just the downtown, but all of Yuba City. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
All right. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank
If
you.
not, can I get the approval for A and B? Okay, got a motion, second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. Item number 15, Amendment 5, Dry Year Water Purchase Program Agreement with California Department of Water Resources. Diana.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. In 2008, the city executed the Dry Year State Water Project Purchase Agreement with DWR for water supply from the Yuba County Water Agency. The agreement is up for renewal and extension. In 2014, the city purchased 53 acre-feet of water under this agreement. This agreement really for the city is to provide water during critical to consecutive dry years. Under other conditions, we typically have enough water supplies available, but this does provide us an opportunity when we have very critically dry years to purchase water. In order to continue to participate in the agreement, this Amendment 5 is required, which would allow us to continue through 2020. And with that, the fiscal impact, the water is in some situations doubling, and then others more than doubling in terms of a cost per acre foot. Also, we would be required to participate in an annual non-refundable fee that would equate to about $1,120 for the city. We view this as somewhat of an insurance policy for the city. Like I said, this year we did purchase 53 acre feet, which, when you're getting into critically dry years, any amount of water to supplement your supplies is helpful. So with that, staff recommends execution of Amendment 5 to the agreement.
Okay, questions for Diana?
Through the mayor. With the doubling and tripling of these rates, will that affect our rates during those years that we actually do this, or how do we accomplish
Right.
those
So
rate increases?
a few months ago, Council authorized execution of agreement with NBS for a rate study. One of the tasks for NBS is to determine when we have drought conditions, what should our water rates be to reflect the cost of operations as well as the cost of water. So they will take this into account when determining what the rates should be in a water shortage situation.
So does that require a Prop 218 vote
Yes.
to do that? I mean,
Yes.
as far as setting up the framework of how we would do that.
Yes, so early 2015, the draft rate studies will be presented to council, and then we will go through a 218 process for approval from the ratepayers.
But during the times that we need to increase those rates, it would be part of that rate study, so we wouldn't
Yes.
have to come back and do a separate 218 when we need to increase it. It would be
Right.
built into that.
We would establish drought rates.
All right, thank you.
Diana, just a point of clarification. Now, we've banked a lot of water from future years that are coming up, and consider how much water we use and how much water is available to us, we're still nowhere near using our full allotment, correct?
We're not anywhere near using our full allotment under normal water year conditions. In 2015, you were correct, we have banked water in previous years. We had banked a little over 6,000 acre feet. In 2014, we're going to be using approximately 5,000 acre feet of that. So going into 2015, we're only going to have approximately a little over 1,000 acre feet of that banked water available. And so we will be heavily relying on the North Yuba Water District water rights, as well as anything that we can get through our DWR contract, which this year was only a 5% allocation. We are reaching out to, there are other alternatives that we're exploring as well, but recognizing with that just like the costs associated with this contract, the cost of water has gone up and will go up as we continue to have critically dry years. And so, we are exploring other alternatives for how we meet water demands long term and then also short term during the dry years.
Mayor, one other question. We had talked about the possibility of putting in another well at the water treatment facility. Where are we at in that process? Is that a part of your other options to have additional water supplies available?
That is part of our other options. We have one monitoring well at the water treatment plant. We're looking at the possibility of installation of a couple other monitoring wells, and it serves two purposes. Number one, to allow us to better quantify and qualify the water, groundwater available in the vicinity of the water treatment plant. So quantify in terms of what are the current groundwater tables in the aquifers, qualify in terms of arsenic, nitrates, and things like that, determine if additional treatments are required. With that helps us to explore the future for aquifer storage recovery. And so we're looking to work with the consultant to further develop how do we develop an action plan with short-term goals to provide an additional well at the water treatment plant for supplemental groundwater supplies, and then long-term, how does that turn into an aquifer storage recovery project for the city?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Dinah? Okay, if not, can I get a motion on this item?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 16, professional services agreement with Atkins and MBK Engineering for urban level of flood protection determination.
So in 2008, the state enacted Senate Bill 5, which was the Central Valley Flood Protection Act of 2008. And so with that, it requires that Central Valley agencies prepare general plan amendments by July of 2015, zoning code amendments by July of 2016, in order to be able to continue with development. So that's issuance of any entitlements, that's issuance of basically new building permits. And the reason for that is the Department of Water Resources prepared 200-year floodplain maps recently, and with that, they assume that basically the city is not protected by levees, because right now our levees do not meet 200-year level flood protection. So here's a map showing the results of DWR's mapping process, and as you can see, the entire sphere is in blue, which means that currently we would be considered to be within the 200-year floodplain. So with that, under SB 5, we need to have a urban level protection determination to show how we can proceed forward with development outside of the 200-year floodplain. What we're proposing to do is hire Atkins to prepare the general plan amendment, zoning code updates, and CEQA analysis associated with that urban level protection designation, and hire MBK engineers to prepare new flood maps for the city, assuming that Civic's project is completed. And so those maps would reflect 200 those properties that are outside of the 200-year floodplain, which it's anticipated that much of Yuba City today would be outside of the 200-year floodplain, but some portions of the sphere would still be within the 200-year floodplain. MBKs would have the maps completed by March of 2015. Atkins would have the general plan amendment completed by July 2015, and then move into the zoning code updates by July of 2016. So this is very critical to the city's ability to develop into the future. cost is Atkins' proposal is $163,837, and I'm requesting $15,000 contingency. MBK is $79,740 plus $10,000 contingency. And with that, I'm requesting that the finance director be authorized to make a supplemental appropriation of $300,000 from the levy impact fee that's been collected as part of new development to pay for these specific services, as it will directly impact new development.
Questions? Yes.
Mayor?
Mhm.
So this is, the maps were already drawn by Sabufka for their project, but this is kind of like a second opinion to find out if those are actually accurate for our urban area. Is that a fair way to put this?
It's a fair way to put it. Since Sabufka prepared their maps, there have been newer models developed. We feel like the newer models will have a better outcome for the city. The other thing is Sabufka's maps assume that there's a 3-foot surcharge over the surcharge of water over the levee at the south end of the basin. And so with that, that's impacting, of course, water levels within Yuba City and the city sphere. Part of MBK's process and Atkins' process would be to try to work with the state to remove that 3-foot weir surcharge, because then that basically lowers the water surface elevation by 3 feet, which positively impacts the city. And so we feel that by using the new model, working with the state, we can have a better directed outcome for the city and the sphere.
So, given their model, a 3-foot overtopping of the levee on the south portion is kind of unrealistic from the reality that it wouldn't sustain that at that level and back up into the city, because most likely the levee would be gone if we had 3 feet of water going over top of that levee at that point.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Dan, have we, just out of curiosity, since if this is, Sabufka's already done their flood mapping, and if this is a different way and it benefits the city, have we talked about sharing the cost with Sabufka if this is a better map?
We've talked to Sabufka about the city preparing these maps. This really directly benefits the city.
Right.
In terms of Sabufka's project, their project's going to proceed forward regardless. So to keep it truly separate, since it's a direct benefit to the city, we propose to use the impact fees that have been collected to fund this.
And will this map override Sabufka's map?
Yes.
Okay.
This will be submitted to DWR as part of the urban level protection findings that we have to make to show that we are meeting the 200-year level of flood protection.
Okay. Through the mayor.
Yes.
Doesn't Sabufka have to certify a 200-year floodplain protection for the urban area with their project? And if so, wouldn't they benefit from this study also?
And maybe I'm going to look to Sean, because Sean has had some involvement with Sabufka, Sean Menard of MHM. I don't know that Sabufka has to certify that the urban areas meeting the 200-year level flood protection. They have to certify that the levees meet the 200-year level, and which is two different things.
All right.
So, and really what's impacting the city, it's not so much the West Feather River levee, it's more Sutter Bypass.
Sutter Bypass and internal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Diana.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
And this also deals with, while Sabufka is working on this, in case we like Lincoln East specific plan, if we wanted to develop that to comply with SB 5.
Yes.
Sabufka, that I don't know, what are we looking at, 2017?
Did you get the job completed?
And then have the levy certified for 200-year flood protection?
Yeah, if we get the funding on it, should be majority of it completed next year.
Yes, 2015.
The mapping should still to get the levy certified for 200-year flood protection. In the meanwhile, if we wanted to annex anything and develop anything, it has to be 200-year flood protection.
And that's part of the ULOP determination process, is that you can have a project that's in process of construction and you submit that as part of the findings as to how you're going to meet the flood protection.
Any questions else? We've got Pat Miller who wishes to speak on this item.
Pat Miller, Yuba City. When I looked at this, I thought, okay, we have documents all over the place that fulfill the requirement of SB 5 and what is it, AB, whatever it is, 160. And it seems to me like this is a major duplication of effort. That those documents are out there, those studies are out there, they've been prepared, they've been submitted to numerous agencies, and we're going to have 200-year protection either next year or the year after. Hopefully it'll be next year if we can get over the few hurdles that are out there. And Yuba City is part of Sabufka. Why not use those studies? Are we spending $300,000 in hopes of a better answer? Or it just seems ridiculous that we are doing that when the documents are there. The city has all the municipal code updates, the general plan amendments, all the information on that is right here in the city. So would you guys think about asking the state for a waiver and just supply the existing documents? That would save taxpayers about $300,000, and I'd appreciate it if you would look at that.
Thank you, Pat. And I think, myself as the incoming chairman and Vice Mayor Dukes is on the committee as well, representing the city's interests. We did look into this. And I think after visiting with Diane on this matter, you're taking a look at an urban area that at this point in time, obviously with Sabufka, you're going to have a 200-year flood protection, but not in the urban areas. Okay, right now we're still working on trying to so-call that J levee, the ring levee. It doesn't cover the Sutter bypass area at this point in time.
Did you say urban areas or rural?
Rural, as far as south, we're talking about, yeah.
I thought you said urban.
Yeah, rural,
so
rural areas.
Yeah, because we will have the 200-year protection
right.
in Yuba City and Live Oak and Gridley.
Right. If this, and anybody who's involved in flood maps will tell you, is that since we've been working on Sabufka, we've had 2-3 different elevations of flood maps that said this one's better, no, this one's worse. No, this
so now we'll have a third one.
Well, and I think from our standpoint of view is we've got to do what we think. Obviously, we are representing, the two of us are representing the city's interest on Sabufka. But in this particular case, we've got to do what's best for the residents of the city of Yuba City. And if
I would think saving money would be high on that priority list.
If we can get, if this is a better flood protection in the sense of telling us what we need to do, we can get stuff done sooner, and it could save even taxpayers even more money.
A better flood protection than what Sabufka is going to provide?
Well, if you're talking about a 3-foot wall coming over the levee, okay, and this flood map shows you that may not be the case. So you've got a better map showing the hydrology of the flow of the water. And I think that's what Diana was talking about.
So we're going to spend $300,000 to see if we could get a better deal.
Yeah.
Through the mayor. Diana, is this something you could address? Thank you.
And I think I need to make one point of clarification. So $163,837,000 plus $15,000 contingency is for the Atkins contract. This is required through SB 5 that for the preparation of the general plan amendments, zoning code update, CEQA analysis. Staff has met with DWR multiple times about the process and how we go about implementing that process. And we reached out to Atkins because they basically prepared the document for DWR as to how to get there. And so from an efficiency standpoint, knowledge, we felt Atkins was the best consultant to move forward with because they have the most intimate knowledge of the requirements. And regardless if we use Sabufka's maps, different maps, we would still have to go through that process no matter what. And Sabufka would not go through that process for us. We as a city have to follow that process because we've been identified as an agency that needs to comply with this SB 5 requirement. In terms of the maps, the $79,740, we feel like with the development of the newer model, and hydrology, that it is going to have a better outcome for the city to be able to show that the Civivca's project, the levee improvements, will result in a 200-year level flood protection for a greater area, which gives us then the ability to allow issuance of building permits, entitlements, which benefits the citizens of the city. And then also, to note that this is being funded through the levy impact fee paid by new development and directly benefits new development.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
With the current maps that Civivca has done, we still have an area in southwest Yuba City which is out of the 200-year protection. Is that correct?
We have an area in the southwestern sphere, and then also in the southern part of the city and sphere.
And it has nothing to do with the West Feather River project, because what that would be is if something happened on the bypass and flooded that rural area south of Yuba City and it backed up against the levee south of Sacramento Avenue, that again, that map is assuming a 3-foot wall of water above the levee height, which causes it to back up into that southwest area of town.
Even more.
But it's a flawed model, because that would never happen, because if you had that much water going over the levee, it would wash the levee out and it would never back up to that southwest area of town. So by having these new maps that are done on better information, it's going to show that that area is not out of the protection of 200-year. Most likely, it may be
Potentially. There might still be some areas.
But the point being is that will help for flood insurance in those areas of town also. For people that are going to be, if they are mapped in under the current maps, they're going to be paying higher insurance in the future.
And without completing this process, then we will not be able to issue a new building permit? Is that?
Right. So we're specifically restricted without complying with SB 5 and showing how we're going to meet urban level flood protection. We cannot process entitlements, new residential building permits, things like that. One thing I want to note on the flood insurance, that's related to the FEMA maps and the 100-year level flood protection, which is a little bit different than this.
Right. Great. Thank you, Diana.
Mr. Dukes, I'd like to have you clarify it to me how 3 feet of water coming over the levee would be worse than a levee break that would allow all of that water to come over and it would back up into Yuba City. That didn't make sense. Sorry.
Well, like I said, the model is that the water level would be 3 feet over top of the current levee at the south end of the basin.
Okay. And then you said
and that would be because of a break in the Sutter bypass or somewhere north of that area, which caused the water to back up in that bowl south of in the rural area.
But if you had a break down there of the levee, it's going to back up. It's going to back up.
Well, it does. That depends. If the level of the Feather River was lower than the levee at that time, because the break was north on the Sutter bypass, the water would drain down into that area. Yeah. So the likelihood of water being 3 feet over the top of that levee is nearly impossible.
Okay, which levee are you talking about, the 3 feet over?
That would be at south of Sacramento. It's where the river turns, the Feather River turns.
Okay.
And it's south of our project. The project goes down to Laurel Avenue.
Right.
It would be south of that.
Well, in every discussion that I have heard and witnessed on that, the indication is if it breaks down in South Sutter County, it will back up into it could very well back up into the Yuba City area. I'm just saying that's what I've heard, and I've gone to a lot of meetings.
Through the mayor, I think this is the levee where we wanted to break, because they're saying this levee is holding the water from leaving South Sutter County, and not only it's holding it 3 feet above the levee, which is hard for us to comprehend that a levee can hold the water 3 feet above. And then we're saying is that it's going to just wash out that levee. because as you go further south, the area's elevations are lower. We cannot have water 3 feet above the levee. We're going to have the levee's going to.
I think that's kind of hard to do. Yeah.
That water is actually going to be lower.
Yeah.
The levee's going to break. So this is a levee we would want it to break if that's the case.
Yeah, and they've talked about that. They've talked about a deliberate mechanism to punch that levee open if necessary.
Try to do that in 97 in South Yuba County. Try to do that with the Bear River, so the water would leave.
Okay.
And Pat, let me just answer that for you. You just said that that's good, but that's why this study that we're going to invest $80,000 toward takes that assumption that has been expressed up here of the 3-foot overtopping. It takes and reduces that assumption so Yuba City doesn't get the depth of water nor the geographical coverage. So is it important? It's $80,000. I get it.
Yeah, well, it's 300,000 for both of them.
But we have to have, listening to Diana, reading the report, we have to have that for SB5. The first part of this is required for SB5 to be compliant.
And my request of you in question is, have you asked for a waiver from that SB5 requirement by producing all the studies that have been done, and there are extensive studies. That why do we have to go and do more? That's my question.
Thank you. Well, I would think to answer that question is because of the study that we currently have shows that we would be in a flood position based on that study, and so that's what we're trying to rectify.
Thank you. Okay, what's the pleasure of the council on this motion?
I'll move for approval of the item.
Okay, got a motion?
Second that.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 17, request from Interwest Homes to be relieved of a requirement to prepare a master plan for the Turbine Road area so that they can apply for the subdivision of their property along Thule and Elmer Roads. Mr. Bush.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a request to be relieved of the requirement for a master plan requirement. Master plans were developed in 2005 in March when the City Council adopted its 12 growth policies. So speaking of growth in your prior item, this is where we're planning to grow. In 2005, the City Council identified these areas in our sphere of influence as potential master plan and specific plan areas. So the purple, for lack of a better description, is master plan areas, as you can see here. The blue represents larger specific plan requirements, and those are due primarily because of the larger area and issues associated with them. And then this green area here represents our first major specific plan that we've completed in a long time, and that's the Lincoln East specific plan. So these growth policies are aimed to make sure that new growth within the city's sphere of influence occurs in an orderly and proper manner. And that's to make sure that we look at everything comprehensively, from flood control to infrastructure issues, road improvements, street design standards, all those things. Okay, and so we're set up to plan properly. One of the new master plan requirements, or excuse me, new master plan areas is this area up here. We've received a request from Interwest Homes, who's in that little niche right there, and I'll highlight that right here for you. This is a blow up of that master plan area, Butte House. Here's Elmer Road right here. And there's the Interwest property right there. Interesting to note that this is the only piece of property right now, along with this area down here along Butte House, that is currently annexed into the city limits. Everything else in that master plan is outside the city limits in the sphere of influence. I'm sorry, there?
Yes.
Turn your microphone on.
That's across from where Sierra Central's building. That there's a large residence apparently going in there.
Right here.
Or a small store, retail establishment or something. Whatever it might be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So now Interwest is looking to do a subdivision map on that particular piece of property. And under our current practices, they would be required to prepare a master plan. But as they point out in their letter that we've included in the attached staff report, Basically, that subdivision is ready to go because it's immediately adjacent to existing improvements for water, sewer, and there are some road improvements that they'll connect to. This is a copy of the tentative map that they've submitted. Just to orient you, here's Thule Road, and then as you can see, here's the outline of the property that you see in that area. So really it connects to the existing street network, plugs into the existing infrastructure network, so there's not a lot of unknowns there. So it's really ready to go. And because of that, and because we believe that we can make sure that this project complies with all of the 12 growth policies that were adopted in 2005, we believe that putting the requirement to go out and spend a year's worth of time and approximately $300,000 to complete a master plan isn't warranted at this time. And especially because it's in the city limits at this time. So and this has been something that we've done in the past here recently. We did that with the property out there in El Margarita for the Unity Estates project. And what we did to ensure that this project contributes to the future master plan is that we're calculating the number of available acres or developable acres here. And based on that, they will be contributing their pro rata share for what we believe a master plan will cost. And in this case, it's about 4% of that cost. So what will happen is when they come in for their subdivision map, they will be conditioned to comply with all the growth policies, as well as contribute their pro rata share to the future master plan. And so when we get a developer or we get proposals to prepare this master plan, we will use those funds to help contribute towards that effort. So we believe that it makes sense, and therefore we're recommending approval of it tonight.
Questions? Yes.
So just to clarify, the money that they or their prorated share, the 4% of the proposed master plan, they would put up a bond for that, or they actually put up the money at this time?
Consistent with what we did with Unity Estates, it would be a deposit direct that we would retain in a fund for future efforts.
All right, thank you.
Aaron, just two quick questions. Number one is you had a map there showing the Thule Road. So is that Thule Road going to be constructed at the same time?
They will be responsible for their frontage improvements down to this point here.
So where is that point at?
Let's see if I can find that here.
What is it?
Bradley Estates.
Two Bradley Estates.
Yes.
Okay. And then is that going to be 4 lanes or is that two wide lanes like Stabler Road?
The general plan requires a 4-lane road. And so what we're proposing to do, because in prior subdivisions over here on this side, and for other projects, they actually dedicated the right-of-way on both sides, so we have the right-of-way. So what we're exploring as part of a future update for our traffic model is the possibility of installing the ultimate width of that road, but doing the outside 2 lanes with an oversized median so that when the time comes for the traffic up and down Thule Road, we have the ability to go back and put those extra 2 lanes in if necessary. Because right now, this is it. So putting 4 lanes right there doesn't really it's not warranted. Right. And so we believe with that design, since we already have the right of way, makes the most effective sense of the land out there, but still gives us the ability very easily and quickly to go ahead and make it to its ultimate improvements if needed.
Okay. Through the mayor.
Yes.
So in those previous developments, they dedicated the land, but they didn't pay their share of the cost of.
I believe that they also they paid their share for the cost as well. So we have funds sitting aside for balance of that road. So those will be used for the improvements as well.
But wouldn't it make sense to do it now along with this project so that we don't have the higher cost of future construction?
Oh, well, we're as I said, we're exploring, and this will be ironed out more as part of the subdivision design and conditions. That you're not going to be able to see it on that, but that we'll do the outside lane here using that roadway and that those funds that exist there to build that half of the road, if you will.
Okay.
So it's going to be 1 lane plus an oversized median that will do, and then because I suspect that the funds collected don't get to 100% of what's there now, but that design will help us keep the street calm for what's out there now, and then we can always go back and design it, expand it later.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, to the mayor.
Yes.
So that subdivision will be connected to 11th through Heidi and Bradley State?
Yeah, it will go down here to Bradley Estates, Thule will, and then what is proposed right now is connecting here to Thule, and then this road up here, which is Heidi.
Heidi to Bradley State.
There is no connection proposed to Elmer, consistent with policies in the general plan.
Any changes to Blevins on that corner where the
I think wasn't that the original goal, was to shut Blevins off there and punch Queens through and bring it to Thule? I mean, that's kind of in the general plan, right?
Yes.
So yeah, down the road, and I think
Correct.
like the vice mayor said, why can't we just bring Thule Road down a little bit further?
How much further?
Queens?
To Queens and punch Queens through? I know.
We don't have all of it just yet, and the big part that we don't have is the west side. There's nothing there, and in fact, you actually have some challenges with some existing properties out there. So, and because it's not warranted right now, as these other subdivisions, as these other properties start to explore development, that will be an opportunity to trigger that.
The subdivision that's building right by Queens and Blevins, aren't they going to further continue to go to Thule?
Right here. So they are dedicating and bonding for their portion of Thule Road.
Are they back up to Blevins? I mean to Thule, right?
Right here. Correct.
So they front on it, aren't they required?
Well, right now it would go nowhere.
Huh?
It would be a road to nowhere. And so instead of
Queens connected to Thule,
but it wouldn't go anywhere.
But it still wouldn't go anywhere because we don't have anywhere for it to go down to the Butte House. It doesn't go anywhere to the north. And so what we're doing is we're building the pot, if you will, that when it's time and we get all the other puzzle pieces, that we can put this through.
especially if we can bring Queens and then down to Harder, Thule. That's not that big of a section, right there. You go south.
But that's all private
Well,
property.
this actually isn't. We don't have all the pieces there, and then we have some challenges down here as well. So, to put this in here would have required a lot of extra effort. They are paying their share. They are dedicating, so we're prepared when it's time for it to happen. And then again, it would have just been kind of a roadway to nowhere on both the north and south side.
Great, thank you, Aaron. Any other questions for Aaron? Okay. What's the pleasure of the council?
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Move the recommendation.
Okay, got a motion?
I'll second that.
Got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 18, continuation of reduced development impact fees for single-family residential development. Consideration of reduced development impact fees for all other residential development types, i.e. duplex, multifamily, and mobile homes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is an item that has been in front, or at least a portion of this item has been in front of the city council for a couple of years now. And so we're bringing it back because it's that end of the year season to revisit the incremental increase, or the planned incremental increase of impact fees for single family homes. As you recall, in February earlier this year, the council agreed to continue the reduced impact fees for single family homes, establishing a two-tier system, or three-phase system for impact fees for single-family units. December 17th of last year, the first increment, 1/3 of the difference, was added for single-family home impact fees beginning January of 2014. Now that we're getting to the end of the year, we're bringing it back for your consideration to go to the next planned increase, which would be the 2004 base fee plus 2/3 of the difference between that 2004 fee and the ultimate fee. So, and I'll show you some numbers here in just a second. But in addition to that, what we're proposing to do as part of this year's consideration is to propose that the other residential impact fees, which would include in our fee program, duplexes, multifamily units, and mobile homes. Those residential types were not up for discussion at the time several years ago because no one was building those products. And so now we're actually in preliminary discussions with a couple of different builders who are exploring the multifamily market. And they believe that we have a couple of potential quality projects that can come to Yuba City. But right now, they're wrestling with that challenge of the buildability with the fee structure. This is the the breakdown for the single-family residential fees. Again, in first year in 2001, we were doing the 2004 fees plus the levy fee, and that equaled that amount. The incremental increase based on the difference between 2004 and the ultimate fee is just about under $6,000 a unit. So this past year we added 1/3 to that base number. Now we're adding another third so that we get to this figure here. So beginning in January 1, 2015, our recommendation is that we up the fee to this point, and then finally in the beginning of 2016 we will achieve the fee that was established in 2007 of this figure here. So the other residential impact fees did kind of the same methodology so that we can be consistent. Here's the different use types. Here's the 2004 impact fee, the current impact fee over here, the total difference, and then the incremental increase per year based on splitting those up over, dividing them by 3. That would result in a phase-in program as such. Because we're at this point with single-family fees, that's staff's recommendation that we start there. Even though this is the first year that we're proposing that, for consistency purposes, we're recommending that we start here at the base plus 2/3. So that's why we're in the staff report. We're recommending this level here. Again, full achievement of those fees in the beginning of 2016. So we believe that this is consistent with the council's past action on single family, and we also believe that the addition of the other residential fee types makes good sense, and so therefore we're recommending that you include that as part of the resolution tonight.
Questions for Mr. Bush?
Through the mayor.
Yes. Aaron, this would be for new development in, I guess, what they call Greenland. And if we were talking about an infill project within the city limits that already has streets and water and sewer there, how much different are they going to be than this here?
Thank you for bringing that up, because that is something that we did include in this recommendation as well. Because right now infill development is included in our current fee structure, but it's defined only by a boundary map, and it's the old redevelopment boundary area. We looked at a variety of different ways to define it differently, but that was what we could come up with at the time. What we're recommending now is that as we've been having projects come forward, we've seen that there are other areas outside the redevelopment boundary that clearly meet what we believe is infill. And what we're defining as infill is projects that are surrounded on at least 3 sides. So 75% of the site is urbanized. And so it has existing water, it has existing sewer, it has existing streets, there's parks in the neighborhood. And that really meets the definition of infill, because what the infill credit is giving them is 50% off of roads, off of parks, off of the connection portion of water and sewer, because those are the main line, because those are already there. And so what that equates to roughly in terms of for single family and for multifamily, for example, is anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a unit when you apply that infill reduction, because the services are already there.
Okay, thank you. Great.
To the mayor?
Yes.
I think this was discussed exhaustively a year ago when we came up with this plan. I'm glad to see you're adding multifamily in the manufactured homes and duplexes and so forth. And with that, I approve or move the recommendation.
Great.
If this is a good time to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Councilman
Just checking.
Starkey. I really appreciate
I'll
it.
second
I just want to
the
make
item.
sure.
I got a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, just to make sure that there might be a comment from the public on this matter.
Did you?
I don't got any speaker cards on it, so anybody from the public wishes to comment. Okay. You got it.
All right, Craig Starkey jumps the gun again.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, John.
That's all right.
All right, I've been cut off before.
You'll be cut off again too.
That's why you're so short.
John Ochipinti, 2319 Lincoln Road, and this is Mike Weiss with me, 469 Century Park Drive. Thank you for bringing this up tonight. We've got a project that would, I hope, be considered an infill off of Lincoln Road, just shy of 8 acres. And we were kind of shocked when we looked at what the fee structure would be prior to any adjustments, I guess. and staff and has worked with us quite a bit on this just recently, and we're still at a high figure for Yuba City. The problem with apartments in Yuba City is, or any town, you're going to get your market rents, and even if we consider high market rents in Yuba City, normally we like to see as a builder, as a banker, if you're in your land and your permits 25% of the project, that's about where you should be. And we think we're in our land right. We've made we've got the land tied up at a good figure, but what has sent us way over were the permits and fees. And in fact, before we started any adjustments, we were at close at 40% of the project cost. And keep in mind, we're wanting to be at 25 on a high side, land and permits and fees. And so we've worked out and we're getting it down, but we're still a ways off. I guess to make it short, what I would ask is that since we're just pulling this multifamily into the circle, that maybe we could start that in the second year as opposed to the third year. In other words, keep in mind that the single family has been running for a while. The multifamily, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that, I don't think there's been any units built in this area of any size for 10, 12 years. I think the last good sized project that was built was out O'Banion Road that Eastridge did originally, and those got to be a good 12 years old now. And I think obviously it's a relation to the economy, but maybe more directly the fees, the fee schedule. You've seen apartments running. It's a strong segment of almost all of the cities in the areas now. Take Sacramento, Roseville, Chico, go wherever. Right now, a bright spot in the economy is multifamily, and we're concerned that in Yuba City, that beat me. I'll get off here in a second. That in Yuba City, it's been held up because of the fee structure.
Thank you, John. Any other comments? We've got a motion from Councilmember Starkey. Oh, Miss Lynn Miles wishes to.
Well, she's coming to the dais. I'd like to make a comment.
Okay. No, she's not. Okay.
So I'll make a comment anyhow. Okay. That the multifamily rates in Sacramento are about half what ours are. So the fact is that we are high, and Sacramento is a much larger jurisdiction than we are. So to have ours that much higher, it's significant. It makes it so financially it just doesn't pencil out.
Yeah, and I think like John, you've said, is these are fees that we didn't even look at, and especially for infills, because we didn't have any infill projects. And even with the rest of these fees, knowing where construction was, we just kind of froze them. And so now, even with this increase in fees, we're not even nowhere near where we need to be. So it's definitely fees that we look at every single year coming back up and saying, are we in line? Are we too high? Are we too less? I'm sure if we're way below, I'm sure you're going to come and tell us that, hey guys, you guys' fees are too low, so you guys need to raise your fees. As all of our home builders come and tell us. One of the the driving factor is just the dollar per foot that you're going to get rent in, right. And Yuba City is low. It's less than $1 on an average on a per foot basis. In a lot of the areas, you're going to see areas, Bay Area, you're going to see areas that are really going and growing, but they're getting $3-4 a foot rent. We're a long ways from that, and I think that that we can hit that dollar mark or maybe a little above it, but it still doesn't make sense with today's rates.
Okay. To the mayor.
Yes.
Aaron, is there a reason why we're starting at year 3? Could we not look at starting at year 2? We're not going back to the beginning on this, but
Okay, so the reason that we suggested starting here is simply for consistency purposes with the single family, because we kind of we went from this to this. Okay, unlike single family where we went to here and then ratcheted it up.
Right.
We're just going down. Now, so I believe what Mr. Ochepeni is proposing is that we start at this level here. Something that, for another alternative for the council's consideration, is because we haven't really gotten into all the nitty gritty details as we started with when the single family developers came and approached us. If you recall, a couple of years ago, we got into the whole pro forma thing and looked at all the analysis and really got down to numbers. And so maybe another option for the council's consideration is that we can still start here, but then we can continue to work with Mr. Ochepeni on his specific numbers and come back for future consideration if this needs further adjustment.
To the mayor.
Yes.
Would there be another way of addressing this is through the infill credits, since it's not going to be requiring new sewer lines. It's especially the project on Lincoln Road. It's pretty close to. You already got most of the infrastructure there. If we can give credit on that, would that?
Yeah, that is something for consideration. And when I've spoken with Mr. Ochepeni about that particular project, with the new language in the resolution, it would be my recommendation that would be considered infill and therefore eligible for those additional credits. But in talking with John tonight a little bit more, that still doesn't get you from this number to that number. Get you closer. But here again, I'm relying on the testimony tonight and not the hard numbers that we haven't had a chance to share yet because we haven't gotten into the project details yet.
Then we're working on not trying to be. Then we're taking the cities. We are always trying to see what's the best interest of the city. So by giving credits for infill development, we're improving lots that empty, collect trash, and homeless pitch tents. We deal with a lot of those issues, and then we're developing property where the sewer is going by, the road's going by, and the impact to the community isn't there. So there's no need to charge that impact fee for infill development. So I think it's a win-win, and that way you're also shooting. I mean, that was an expensive study to figure out why we should be collecting certain fee. Why do we need this fee? I mean, it'd be nice to not have any fee and just build all day and keep everybody happy and have really low cost housing. But obviously we need these because we need to build interchanges and put sewer lines and expand treatment plants, have better intersections so traffic flows better, great, more fire stations, more firemen, and all of that. So every time we build a house, it has an impact. But when you build a house in a town in already where a lot of that infrastructure doesn't need to be built, your impact is less. So I would like to come from that end. We can give
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I think what Councilmember Amon is talking about, rather than starting in year 2, that maybe we look at instead of a 50% share of that, maybe reduce that or give them a higher credit, say 60 or 75% credit on the infill, rather than backing all of them up to a lower level.
Then you're looking at each project that comes across
differently. Through the mayor?
Yes.
I think our esteemed planning department head came up with a brilliant idea of approve the recommendation this evening. Let John and he talk about details because we don't know the details right here. We can be shooting in the sky. So you go back with John and come back with a separate recommendation that can be amended in the future. So I would say we approve the recommendation tonight that was made, and then you guys work it out. And if you think that we should come back with a lesser fee, bring it.
Okay, got a motion? Can I get a second?
Well, you have the motion already in the second, so we're just.
Did I second my own motion?
Yeah. Well,
sorry.
You made the first and you made the second. So.
Okay. Break's been
Okay. Any other discussion at this point in time? Okay. Not all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 19. Yeah, status update on Highway 20 Better Street Design Guide for the future enhancement of Highway 20, Highway 99.
I'm gonna miss
Mr. Bush.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm pleased to be here tonight to present this update for you. This has been a very long work in progress, and it will continue to be some additional phases. But I'm here tonight to give you an update on the city's Highway 20 revitalization strategy for the future enhancement of Highway 20 between Highway 99 and the city limits. This project has a long history to it, so I'm not going to get into all of that. This project here is, again, Highway 20, here's Highway 99, and the city's eastern limits over here. And here's a different view of Highway 20. Just want to point out real quick, there's more than 70 driveways on Highway 20, which creates a lot of challenges to it. The Highway 20 revitalization strategy, when we set out to do this several years ago, was really a multi-phase approach to improve the appearance and the functionality of Highway 20. I think when we did our workshops with the public and with the City Council and other stakeholders, we really came to the same conclusion that it's a very underutilized highway corridor. It's definitely a transportation corridor, but it's also a commerce corridor. But this side of Highway 99 is really underutilized and showing signs of aging. And unfortunately, with the loss of redevelopment, the ability for us to get involved and help spur on new development and help that corridor was heavily hindered because we lost redevelopment funds to invest. But when we started this effort, here's just a quick overview, is that the vision for the revitalization strategy is to create an active and vibrant corridor of regional serving and neighborhood serving commercial and service uses that will integrate well with the surrounding mixed use and residential development. New development and redevelopment will provide visible enhancements to the corridor and help create a sense of place and distinct character in this important gateway area. And that's really important because jumping over to another effort that the City Council has been heavily involved with, here's your Grow Your Economy blueprint that the Council just reviewed this earlier this year. And I bring this up is because one of this particular document had 3 overarching goals. Grow our image, grow our businesses, and grow our people. Well, right there, number 1 is our image. And so here's specific goals from that strategy plan. Continue physical improvements to create a sense of place, and then specifically enhance the corridors and gateways, medians, landscaping on Highway 99 and Highway 20 downtown, and cleaning up activities of signage. Then here's an actual implementation line item right out of that strategy. Again, enhancing the corridors and gateways. That group that worked on this document, and along with the City Council, felt very strongly at the time that the image is really economic development generating. And so when you look at this effort here, it's really synonymous with what we're trying to do on the Highway 20 revitalization strategy, which is really a combination of public and private improvements that I'll share with you as I go through this. Now, as part of this, we gave you all copies of this, and I know that there's lots of moving pieces in this document. It's not my goal tonight to go through all of that with you. I will say, as your planning director, the benefits of this document are many. It helps set the framework for our future vision for Highway 20. It gives me tools that I currently do not have to help private investors with what the vision of Highway 20 is. Right now, I don't have anything to share with them except our zoning code, which is about 30 years out of date. And so right now there's no continuity, there's no design standards per se, and there's no opportunities to streamline the process. So if someone came in right now and said, I'd like to revitalize or redevelop a section of Highway 20, there wouldn't be a good starting point. And to get private investment to come in, it's been my experience that you need to make it easy for them. And this document is one piece of the ultimate toolkit that I'm hoping that I can prepare for you in the city that will help us do just that and encourage private investment in that corridor. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail here in just a second. But the other main part of my focus tonight is the public investment portion of that corridor, because we really believe that we have an exciting opportunity to do something here on Highway 20 that shows that the city's committed to this image here, to creating a sense of place and cleaning that corridor up with some very simple steps. And so I'll walk through those now. So the first thing that this document did, and that we did as part of our study, is setting a vision for the corridor. Over here on the left, you have an existing picture of Highway 20. Every eye has a different view of it, but this is pretty bland. The vision is over here, and there's many steps to this, and I'll go into those in more detail. Will this vision happen overnight? No. This vision, if it ever gets there, is probably 20, 30 years or more out there. But things can be done in the interim sooner than later. Here's just some other pictures of the Highway 20 corridor. Not very friendly right now. And again, the interesting thing that I got out of these workshops that we did with our first phase is that there's a sense that this is just a corridor. It's to move people from one place to the other, to get where they need to go. And it can be so much more than that. It can still serve that primary function, but it can also be much more to help promote new economic growth and development, as well as just improving that image that I talked about in the economic development strategy. You can see here right now that, in terms of walkability, you have a pedestrian battling with this vehicle over here, and fortunately they made it past the first part anyway. So, public and private investment. I talked about that at the beginning. This is what this looks like. So don't worry too much about this stuff over here on the private side, but this right here is our right-of-way. Okay? And this document has typical sections of every street block in this study area. Okay? So we have detailed information in this document about what's existing and what's planned for those areas here. But I wanted to start with this one because this shows what we're talking about in terms of public and private to create that ultimate vision. Okay? And so what we're talking about in the public right-of-way is new sidewalks, new street furniture, new street lighting, new landscape, tree wells, and then of course the median islands here. And I'll have more on that in just a moment. Here's a different view of looking at it. But we believe that the addition of this public improvements here will really make a difference on that street corridor. Again, if you look at what's there now, no landscaping, no landscaping, no landscaping, much different. So here's some more details. We're talking about, this is, again, this is part of that toolkit that I was talking about as your planning director that gives me an opportunity to help people see the vision and start putting those pieces together in terms of what that street's going to look like. Street trees, ground cover, median trees. We're going to be taking this in future phases that I'll go over in just a moment to work very closely with Caltrans, because obviously this is their right of way, and so these materials right here have to be to their liking. Mention that we have cross sections for every block of Highway 20 in the document. This is just an example. Here's the existing cross section. This is what it looks like, with some additional planning stages and construction drawings, which we're talking about doing in future in these upcoming phases. We hope to get to this, and we believe that by initiating this level of improvement, we can start generating interest and investment from the private side to get to those other pictures that I shared with you. This is just all the different existing cross sections for all of those street blocks that I shared with you. And then the document, again, takes each section and identifies what's existing and then what improvements are planned. And when we shared this with Caltrans, they were pretty excited about this because there's a lot of opportunity for improvement out here. Still maintaining that number one primary function of Highway 20, which is a transportation corridor. But at the same time, can we improve its safety? Can we improve its design and its aesthetics? I mentioned earlier that there's over 70 intersections on here. Let me go back real quick.
Driveways, I think you said.
Driveways, thank you. As you can see right here, these driveways, these are wide driveways, very numerous and close together. Coordinating the consolidation of those driveways is going to be a very critical step in this process to improve safety and just make for better function and design of that street corridor in private projects. This document helps us get there.
Aaron, I don't see any roundabouts.
Well, if you'd like to see that, it's on page 52.
I'm just teasing you. Aaron, while you're talking about the landscaping, and one of the ones you showed, whether we had the landscaping in the median and alongside, I would presume that this means that we would have some kind of an agreement with Caltrans because they don't have a very good record of maintaining the landscaping that is existing. They basically have recently gone through and just cut down everything that was there. And if we're going to invest this in the future, that we want to have some input as to how that is maintained, just like we did on the 99 strip at Highway 20.
Absolutely. That's a very critical part. And we just recently met with the new director of Caltrans and shared our vision with them. And I walked away with the impression that they were pretty excited about it and supportive of it, and appreciated the fact of our proactiveness on the maintenance agreements to make sure that this is a positive step. And the other encouraging part about that, as a side note, is that they have some issues to work out with their sidewalks over here as part of their own project. And I threw out that there's maybe an opportunity to work together on coordinating that effort. So,
well, I know a prime example of this is the work they did on Highway 99 at Queens intersection a year or 2 years ago, and I don't know how many millions of dollars that were spent on that project, but it's not being maintained properly. And so anything that we do going forward, we have to look at the operation and maintenance of this to the future, not just doing the project and then walking away from it like they have done in the past.
no, absolutely. And this area obviously is going to be very, very visible. And it's something that we'll want to make sure that, as you say, we make the investment. We want to make sure to keep it up and its high quality appearance. This right here is, if I can do it, is a photo simulation of the different phases. That's the existing conditions. We add landscaping, street furniture, lighting, street trees. You really get to get a feel of what that corridor can look like just with simple investment. Now, I say simple, but nothing. Working with the right of way there is simple, but I feel that we're on a good track. I think that this first phase identifies the pictures. And then I'll get into it momentarily about the next phase where we're actually going to start designing this. We're going to take that plant palette that I shared with you and start performing working drawings to get to just exactly the technical details of what these look like. What's the lane striping, what's the width and the type of plant material so that we can be ready, and I'll go over that for you in just a moment. So this is really the immediate phase in terms of public improvement. Then you start getting into private, investment, because realistically, this type of design right here is more efficient, more economical, and more advantageous for a property owner because you're getting a higher rate of return on your land because you're intensifying it, and you're putting the parking in the back. It's much more accessible, much more safe, and so ultimately, that's what your corridor could look like. Okay, so where do we go from here? Phase one was this document that I talked about here, the Highway 20 Corridor Project. This was funded through a grant from SACOG. I believe that we got our money's worth out of this. I really do. Because as I said, this gives me the ability to work with developers, prospective landowners, existing landowners, and give them an idea of what we're envisioning down there. Clearly, the next step from a private investment will be to take it to a corridor-specific plan or master plan where we start doing things like form-based codes, streamlining the development process so that someone can come right in, boom, off they go. We have the environmental document that's needed, and it really makes it much more efficient for future development. Phase two, that's what we're working on now. And that's what we've been working on all this time while we've been away from you since the last time we saw you on phase one. Phase two is doing the preliminary design for the entire corridor. And when I say preliminary design, I'm talking 50% level construction drawings in the public right-of-way section. So sidewalk to sidewalk. And so what we're intending to do is work very closely with Caltrans to get the concepts down to even more specific detail. And that would include those things such as median locations and designs, lane width, and then furniture types, plant material type. And so that's all covered from the entire corridor. Okay. Then the second part of that is that we want to do a pilot project. We want to show people what we're talking about, and we just happen to pick one of the more challenging sections on Highway 20 between Stafford and Clark. And so our goal is to use the second grant that we've received to improve, do 100% drawings for that particular street section, so that we can get that constructed sooner than later, so we can show what that future corridor is going to look like. Phase 3, we do the remainder of the construction drawings for the remainder of the corridor project, and we apply for a construction grant. And based on my conversations with SACOG, we could be eligible to apply for a construction grant as early as next year. And then start construction if everything lines up just right. We could start construction on those public improvements for the entire section in 2017, potentially, maybe 2018. The pilot project would certainly happen sooner than that, but then you really have an enhanced corridor in less than 5 years is our goal. This just shows you a picture of what I'm talking about in terms of the area. The green represents 50% drawings, and then the red represents 100% drawings. So in the overall scheme of things, our goal is to have this constructed and improved in the next couple of years, and then we follow that up within 5 years with the rest of the construction here. Again, in my mind, it's a very exciting planning project, a community development project, but it's also a very exciting economic development project. And so I appreciate the council's support of this project. I appreciate your patience as we put these pieces together. Phase 2 is out for RFP. We anticipate getting that here before the end of the year and bringing that back to council so we can award the contract to get started on those 50% construction drawings in coordination with Caltrans. And again, thank you for your support, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions.
Questions for Mr. Bush? This is just for no
Mayor?
report only. Yes.
Aaron, having been on the planning commission for so many years and getting involved with the League of Cities educational part of the planning commission thing, this really is a great plan. And it may not ever happen, the long-term vision, but the steps going towards that make logical sense. And I'm hoping that future councils will continue to support, and assuming we have support here, continue to support and see this project forward to whatever end it comes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Aaron, some of these are just going to be observations that I made from the document that was supplied to us out of the grant. But I think that they need to be corrected if we're going to move forward with additional phases. And one of those is the 2011 collision data that was provided within the report on page 45, I think is in great error as to its numbers. And I would like to have them look at that and also go back and maybe work with, they relied on Berkeley data, and I'd like to see them work with our police department directly and also with our SWITR's reports, which also provide data to the TIMS software over in Berkeley. A couple other things is the reduced lane widths. I'm a big proponent of those. I think that we can still move all of our commercial traffic through that area with reduced lane width. When it comes down to pedestrian safety, it's important to reduce the curb to curb width. So I think that's good. But one of the pieces that they list in there, and they dedicate 3 or 4 pages to it, talks about mid-block crosswalks or crossings. Yuba City has a history of litigation where we were not the favored recipient of the findings by the court for mid-block crosswalks. And in California, that is an area of high litigation. All the safety experts, there are thousands of them available to testify against cities, jurisdictions, and everyone else that may put these type of features within their jurisdiction. I understand that there is a light there, but their purpose is really to keep target speeds on track through the corridor. That helps reduce and reduces emissions from vehicles, frustration as Yuba City grows. Anytime you have a corridor like this, there'll be more and more traffic. But that corridor handles this time of year about 37,000 daily vehicle trips. It does grow in the next month to something near 50,000. And so we do have to keep traffic moving through that corridor. And I think that those are some of the things that we addressed as we went through the planning stages. All of the safety stops that they have that for pedestrian crossings at intersections, I think are pieces that are really required given the width of that right of way. And I'd like to see more of that incorporated at the intersections. But I do know that in talking to Caltrans and certainly the goal to keep traffic moving through the area is also to reduce any uncontrolled left-hand turns through there. And in some of the preliminary drawings that are available in some of the phase construction that we can do through this, it does increase our left-hand turns that are currently signed up as no left-hand turn. So, I'd like to see those addressed in more detail as we move forward with this to try to eliminate those components out of this design. Those are the only comments I have.
Okay. I do have Pat Miller who wishes to talk on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Is it okay to respond to those comments?
Absolutely.
Because I think those are valid comments. And one thing that I should have pointed out about this particular document, unlike other master plan or specific plan documents, this is not regulatory. This is really a handbook, if you will, that doesn't bring with it any legislative backing, if you will. You're not required to adopt or a resolution or an ordinance to approve this because it's not changing anything. What it's doing, however, though, is establishing some building blocks that I can then go out and start building those next steps. So these things here that you see here will grow and evolve as things happen. But I completely agree with your comments. And what will happen ultimately is that my thought is that we'll eventually need to get to a specific plan for this area, and that's when we'll start getting into those real defined specific details and triggering mechanisms and all those types of things. And those will definitely be brought back to go through every detail with the Planning Commission and the City Council upon that approval. And so, but we can certainly make note of that here, and make sure going forward that your comments are adequately addressed going forward.
And I appreciate your response. One of the things that we have to be mindful of is we are government. A document that exists today exists forever, and litigation is based on those documents that can be dug up, trenched up, found in the archives to be brought forward at a later date, as is proof in some of our prior cases of litigation against the city.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Pat Miller.
Pat Miller, Yuba City. I was watching the presentation and I kept thinking, grass in the median, grass on each side. The maintenance of that is horrendous. And every time you get a person out there in the median, you got to close a lane. And that's on a state highway with heavy traffic. So further, you have to have the water for that grass, and the trees, not so much, but the grass needs water. And if you're going to put grass in the median, it's going to be a major maintenance problem and cost a lot of money to maintain. I guess my concern is how much money and how much time are we going to expend studying this major transportation corridor through the city? In late 2012, a study of the corridor was given to the Walkable and Livable Communities Institute. At the March 19, 2013 meeting, I asked a number of questions which were never answered and asked for a copy of the completed study, which I never received. The city spent $111,000 on that study. Then in February of this year, you authorized the application for a $975,000 Sustainable Communities Planning Grant and Incentives Program. And the question is, was that grant ever received? And if so, was a contract let on that project? That is one heck of a lot of money to develop, quote, plans. And I read the 12 grant objectives and questions on that particular grant. And I looked at it and said I don't believe the Highway 20 corridor meets any of them to any major degree. More questions. When was the SACOG grant authorized for Phase 1 of the Highway 20 revitalization strategy, and how much did the city receive? Why wasn't the Highway 20 Better Streets Design Guide, which was noted on the agenda staff report, posted on the internet so the public could see what was developed in Phase 1? We had to come into the office, and of course, I don't look at the agenda until probably closer to the meeting, so that isn't an option. It's disappointing that the city is applying and using grant money repeatedly to study the State Highway 20 corridor. It's a state highway, it's under the jurisdiction of Caltrans, and as was stated, any changes that are made must be approved by Caltrans. So you can nibble around the edges, but you cannot reduce the carrying capacity of the state highway. Lighting improvements, landscaping on private property, establishing building guidelines are all well and good, but they need to be studied. Do they need to be studied to death? And we seem to be going there repeatedly. And I'd like to see you folks take a really realistic look at what you're dealing with. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Elaine Miles.
Elaine Miles, ditto everything she said. But I want to talk a little bit. I know this is a computer program. There's not a driveway on there. And think of the businesses that are there. When I lived in Live Oak, the city of Live Oak came up with this wonderful plan for Pennington Road. They were going to take away my driveway. They were going to take away my trees. All these wonderful things. And I, of course, could come in the backside. No. My private property, my right. I fought it. I won. I informed all the other neighbors. They fought it too. I cannot see property owners giving up their right to a driveway. That is very much the value of their property. And I can't see the city being able to buy it because they're expensive. Those are businesses down there. It is a highway. You can make it a little bit prettier maybe, but this is dreaming and is spending yours and my money to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is just for note and file, so we will thank you, Aaron.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Could I have Aaron address the planting strips, because I know we talked about the fact that these show grass, but what we talked about would be drought resistant type plantings and not necessarily having grass on there.
Through the mayor, if I might throw something in there, I think these are conceptual drawings. It's going to take years for this stuff to happen, and I think at that time the landscaping will probably be addressed. I don't think we're going to decide tonight if we're going to have grass, if we're going to have cactus, if we're going to have decomposed granite. This is way down the road. This is conceptual, folks.
Both statements are accurate. The purpose for drawing green here was simply to save some time and money for the architect to draw in something, all the different little plants. As you can see here, ground cover is a variety of different drought tolerant ground covers that we identify here. And Councilmember Starkey is absolutely correct. This is just a starting point, if you will, and then everything we do here has to go through Caltrans. And so, again, when we come back with those specifications that Phase 2 consists of, we'll be bringing that back to City Council for public consideration and review and comment to see exactly what we're doing out there, where everybody will have an opportunity to take a look at that.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes.
And if you wouldn't mind just answering Pat Miller's question on the Walkable Communities grant and what the outcome was.
Well, the outcome is this document. And again, I can understand why those who are not, as involved in the planning field as I am, may not see the value of it. But again, I think there's a lot of value on it immediately and as a building block for the future. And so we're not studying everything. And Ms. Miles' comments about, what will happen here with driveways and everything. You're absolutely right. I don't know what's going to happen. This is a concept, a vision to give us something to shoot for and to start towards. You can have planning documents like this that have all these nice, pretty pictures in them, and then when it actually comes to implementation, the end product could be something completely different than this. But this at least sets the groundwork on how to go and start to reinvest in your community and build some fiscal health.
And if I could just make a couple observations, Gridley, if you drive through Gridley and see some of those preliminary little changes that have occurred, that's part of this. Well, we're not talking about roundabouts. The roundabout here is in the appendix. Somebody asked him to bury it. I asked it to be eliminated, but it got buried. So that's fine. And I would say if we ever see one, that good luck. It may be here someday. I hope I never have to drive through it. Live Oak is in those very same stages right now of working on their corridor. There are other jurisdictions. South Lake Tahoe on the California side of the border is actually in what we are looking at right here, where they have some split development that's going on in there. The economy certainly put a little bit of a plug in that project, but it is one of those pieces that moves a community forward and out of a less than desirous appearance, and also consolidates more of its commercial ability to serve a larger community, and that's what the Highway 20 corridor is built on. And just right now, if you shop at Staples and you need to pick up something for your pet, you're driving between locations. In an environment like this, oftentimes you can just simply walk from one location to another because they're all on the same properties. So,
I was just going to add, just to give a real-time example. If you look at the city of Citrus Heights and the old Sunrise Mall, a very underutilized corridor. It was deteriorating, and poor elements were moving in. It was borderline blight. The city got together, initiated a public improvement campaign with the help of a PBID, got many public improvements put in there with regards to landscaping, furniture, signage, enhancements, and then the private investors got on board and redeveloped that entire corridor. And I'm sure if we were to talk to them about the influx of economic health and growth as a result of that effort, it would be pretty remarkable. And that's kind of what we're looking at trying to achieve here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bush. I know that this is just a note and file and no action needed on this item, and so we're so far away, Mr. Starkey.
I was going to say we have a road trip.
Yeah, we're so far away because those trees, we want to make sure that they don't attract the crows. So, I mean, that could be here for another hour, right? I just want to make sure.
That's for our new Crow Festival.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Next thing item, I'm going to move this thing along because this is getting a little bit late. Business from City Council. We got item number 20 from our City Clerk Terrell Locke on reference to adoption of the 2014-2015 calendar for council.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. This will be a really quick item. We evaluate every year, taking a look at the calendar to see if there's any conflicts that come up regarding scheduling of the council meetings. We do request to cancel the January 6th council meeting due to the fact that the holiday schedule impacts staff's ability to put an agenda together. And the finance department has been looking ahead, and they'd already like to put on your calendar the budget study session for May 26th, which is the day after Memorial Day. And it's been working well because agendas in the summertime are usually pretty light, to cancel the first meeting in July. And that allows, council to schedule their time better during that time. August 4th is typically the National Night Out, and council likes to participate in that. And December 1st, we'd like to reserve again for the new mayor's swearing-in ceremony. Of course, if anything comes up, we could not cancel a meeting, or we could schedule special meetings as they need arises.
Great.
I move for approval of the item.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Wonderful, motion carries.
Yeah, I bet you would.
Item number 21 is City Council reports. Councilmember Buckland.
Had attended a SASA meeting talking about our feral cat issues within our community, and looking at a ordinance dealing with a no feed and spay neuter for feral cats, trying to control the population. There'll be more out on that in the future. Attended the Veterans Day Parade with the mayor and Mr. Dukes. He was in an old car, and we were in a much newer vehicle. But I had the honor of driving the mayor in our in the Yuba City police car, the 53 Ford. And I think that the citizens out there must have taken about 2,000 pictures of the mayor as he was waving and doing his thing out there. So it was a lot of fun. We had a blast doing it. Attended SACOG board of directors meeting. Just really the primary thing that went on there is our metropolitan transportation plan workshops that have been going on. We looked at a lot of the data coming out of that, and I will tell you that Yuba City and Yuba County both achieved far more positive results from our community members in those workshops and from the surveys that were taken regarding transportation and all the other issues. If you want more on that, certainly come talk to me about it. Chamber After Hours, Sutter Community Bank down on Plymouth Street was celebrating its 8th year in business. Attended that along with other members of the city. Mr. Gale was there with his 3 kids. Pretty cheap way to feed your kids on a Thursday night, huh? And also attended the ribbon cutting for the new Toyota facility. Remarkable facility, wonderful turnout from our community, and look forward to what that dealership does in the future. But in talking to them, buy your Toyota in Yuba City, because they will have 1,000 more available to choose from over the course of a year. That's what their allotment has been kicked up as a result of their new location.
Thank you. Councilmember Mon.
LAFCO hasn't met for a few months. I'm still on LAFCO. That if you don't want to go to meetings, that's the committee to be on.
I think they're meeting in 2 weeks.
I think the last time LAFCO met, it was 9 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Due to no items. And the housing authority's been busy. It's been growing. It came from Sutter Housing Authority to Nevada Sutter, then to Nevada Lusa, then to Sutter Lusa Yuba. And so it's always interested in buying properties and providing better housing alternatives. And that committee is busy, and sometimes we meet twice. I missed out on a lot of these wonderful brief events in our community. I had a flu, so I didn't want to increase the doctor's next week, huh, Darren? Let me know where the briefing is. Other than that, that's
Perfect. Councilmember Starkey.
I have agreed to yield my time to the vice mayor.
So nice of you. Vice Mayor Dukes.
Is this your last night?
I think it's his last night and he wants to get out of here, but no. He saw the list I had here, so that's probably why, but I'll go quickly through it. Attended the Veterans Day Parade and honored our veterans in the community, and it's an honor to be able to do that, and it's great to see the community turnout for that event each year, and it seems to be growing. Attended the SASA meeting. The Tour Day delegation left I guess a week ago Wednesday, had the opportunity to be here and to see them off. Sabufka Finance meeting, Sabufka meeting, Mosquito Vector meeting, Gilsizer meeting, and Toyota ribbon cutting. And then last Thursday had the pleasure of attending the Happy Landings Home for the Holidays Christmas event for the spouses at Beale Air Force Base. We bring them into the community. Normally that event takes place on the base, but once a year we bring them to Hillcrest Plaza and had, I believe, about 120 spouses. And it was amazing to see the outpouring from our local businesses that nobody went home empty-handed. They went home with huge gift bags and a lot of other gifts that were given away during the event. And it's just nice to be able to honor the spouses of Beale Air Force Base at this time of the year.
120 spouses. Those were individual spouses of someone else, right?
Correct.
Oh.
Yes.
You're great. Yeah. Thank you. I was also able to attend a Veterans Day Parade with my chauffeur here. We did have a hit car. This is the first time I think we've used a police car, and we did have a great time turning the alarm on or the sirens on and off.
Do you ever turn
Yeah.
that siren off? I think it was on the whole day.
Well, that's the only way to get the attention out there in that parade. But, you know, it was a wonderful parade, and it is a thank you to all the veterans because we forget, because of their sacrifices, the freedoms that we have. And it was nice to see our local folks from Beale Air Force Base there as well. And just, you know, tons and tons of people that were able to go up and say thank you, and just to see their faces light up. And I thought that was very, very nice. And I think like the CEO of Starbucks said it, he goes, you know, Veterans Day, we forget what the real meaning is. Most of us, we think about Veterans Day sales. And when you start putting it that way, you go, well, you know, it's sad that they tie that. It's great, but, you know, we all forget what the true meaning of Veterans Day is. So I did want to thank all the veterans once again for everything that they've done for us. We did also attend the same meetings, Sutter Buttes Flood Agencies and Finance Committee meetings, and those are all committees that we all serve on, continue to do. One of the things that we were able to do this Sunday down in West Sacramento at the Sikh Temple with Councilmember Buckland and with our City Manager Steve Crater, Darren Gale, along with other dignitaries. Governor Brown was at the temple, and he was able to honor Deidar Baines, who's a long time resident of our city of Yuba City, a long-time farmer, for all of his contributions that he's done. And Deidar, as many of you know, has been great friends of Governor Brown's father, Edmund Brown, and then has been very politically been connected with Jerry, Governor Brown. And so we got some pictures there. I was able to attend a meeting with him one-on-one with other people within the room. There's Deidar Baines visiting with him one-on-one, and Santi, Deidar's wife, who's my uncle and my aunt. And then, of course, be able to stand right next to him and chit-chat a little bit about him. I did invite him to Yuba City to tour our wonderful, largest slurry wall project in the western United States that's happening. And he kind of looked at me. I said, Governor, I'd love to invite you to Yuba City and come and see. And he waits and he pauses. He goes, I didn't get a lot of votes from Yuba City. So, yeah. So it's amazing how they kind of keep that in the back of their mind. Like, you know, Yuba City, I didn't get a lot of votes. But, you know, Deidar was honored. So it's kind of nice to see that being recognized by the governor and get a chance to visit with him one-on-one. And he's known Deidar for such a long time. And when Deidar was ill for a while in the hospital, he actually made 2 visits to the hospital to sit with him and just chat one-on-one. And that's the kind of ear that Deidar's got with the governor. So which is kind of nice because they did talk about water issues as well for storage and stuff for California. So kudos to Deidar and appreciate Governor Brown coming out and visiting with them there as well. In addition to that, tomorrow at 2:30, Kingsbury has a ribbon cutting for their expansion project, and that's off of Epley Drive, I believe, or Burns, Burns, okay, Burns. And that's a project that was constructed pretty quickly, and it was done by Kurt Helbers Incorporated, which is all local stuff, and their expansion of some of the jobs they have are high-paying jobs. So that's going to be tomorrow at 2:30 on Burns Drive. So if you can come out and do that. So in addition to that, obviously, I want to thank. Of course, I'll save a lot of my comments for here a couple of weeks from now. But Councilmember Starkey. Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you for these past 2 years, and I know you're excited to get off and go home and do that. But it's truly been a pleasure. And Councilmember Mon, same thing. I appreciate both of you guys' professionalism, and yeah, exactly. To tell it the way it is. But no, I really appreciate that. So I want to thank both of you since you guys are leaving off and officially as your last meeting here tonight. I know we have a ceremonial meeting. What's that? Yeah, we're trying to get this thing over and gone with, but with that, I want to thank you guys and thank everyone for taking the time and being here today with us. So with that, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.